We go. Good evening, everyone, and this meeting of the Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District is reconvening right now from closed session. Is there anything to report at this time, Chief?
Nothing to report at this time, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. With that, we will go into, let's see, roll call.
Chairman Juliana Rhodes,
Here.
Vice Chair Jeremy Coe,
Present.
Director Ty Payton,
Present.
Director Robert Gleason,
Present.
Director John Gish.
Present.
Thank you.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have at this time declarations of conflicts of interest. I'll start to my left. Any to report? To my right?
None. Madam Chair, for schedule item 9.3, I just wanted to state for the point of true transparency that my employer is listed on the agenda item, but I don't see any true conflict.
Very good.
Okay.
So with no conflicts to declare, we will move forward with presentations. Apparatus and Station Inspection Awards. Oh, I love those. Cool.
Madam Chair, I'll have Battalion Chief Craig Jones will be doing the apparatus and station awards.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board, Chief Neely. Every year annually in February, myself and Acting Battalion Chief Josh Capper go around the stations and we do apparatus inspections and also the station inspections, not only to check for cleanliness, but also to make sure that our apparatus and our stations are looked at and budgeted for items that need to be repaired or replaced in the upcoming fiscal years. So I'll start with the apparatus inspection for this year. So all the stations did an outstanding job. Obviously, Station 1 is a very busy, big house with a number of pieces of apparatus, so they have a lot more cleaning and housekeeping to do, so compared to the other 3 stations involved. But they all did an excellent job. There's just one station that stood out more than the others, and that is Station 33, which is the second year in the row. So if Station 33 could come up. Congratulations. Thank you. Nice job. Thank you. Anything you want to add, Chief? Speech.
Yeah, would you like to, anything to say, Captain? Yeah. Captain Kovacs?
First, good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Directors, Chief Neely. I think I'd like to start off by just saying thank you. It truly is an honor to receive this award once again. If I might add, the engines, the apparatus that we respond on, they're just a link in a chain of many links that allow us to respond in an efficient manner to the emergency needs of our community. And we take great pride in not only maintaining or cleaning the apparatus, but ensuring that they're operating in a manner which allows us to do so. So I think Chief Neely, Chief Manowski, Chief Capper, Jones, and Captain Perry, I think they're to thank for implementing, maintaining, and supporting a program which once again allows us to do so. So with that, on behalf of Station 33, we gladly accept this award and we will display it proudly. Thank you.
I couldn't have said that better myself, Tim.
And if I could add, this is the 6th 5th year in a row that we've done that, and Station 33 has received that for the last 2 years in a row. So they do take a lot of pride and effort in their apparatus to make sure that it is in that ready state that Captain Kovacs just explained. So, moving on to the station inspection. Again, Station 34 is our biggest station. Station 31, 2, and 3 are a little bit older, so you would think 34 is the gem, which everybody comes by Station 4 and says, wow, this is the newest station. It looks great, right? It does. It does look great. But there was another station that actually stood out a little bit better, and that one's a little unique because it's an older station. But again, with the general housekeeping and everything else that goes on, it does help me doing the station inspections, identify for upcoming budgeting process, what we need to look at, what needs to be replaced but due to age, just general wear and tear, some capital outlay things that Chief Neely has, identified that we really need to dig into as well. So it's not just go around and nitpick on how well they get the cobwebs and the cleaning, but it's also make sure that the standards being met for the housekeeping, that all the chores are being done effectively. So with that, Station 32 is our recipient this year for the station. This station is a little unique because it's staffed with reserve firefighters out there as well. So that shows that they are taking the pride and the effort into participating in this program very wholeheartedly by, doing the extra mile to get them to where they're at today with this award. So good job, you guys. Say a few words.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'd gladly accept this award on behalf of the reserves and my predecessors, actually, because I just moved out to Station 32, but hopefully I can help continue to keep it up, and maybe it'll last another 40 years. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if the board members want to say anything at this point? Thank you very much. It's always nice to see you guys coming here and taking awards. So we will go at this time into public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? Before I read that whole long thing, I wanted to find out if I had to. Okay, so we will move to the next item, which is consent items. If the board secretary can please identify those.
Consent calendar, item 8.1, March 16, 2017, excuse me, that should be regular board meeting minutes. My apologies, that's a typo. Item 8.2, monthly register of warrants. Item 8.3, receive and file March 2017 incident and training report. Item 8.4, receive and file monthly year-to-date budget report.
Very good. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar at this time by either the board or anyone in the audience? None to be pulled, so I will then entertain a motion for consent items 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and 8.4.
I so move.
I have a motion by Gish,
Second.
second by Gleason. Please do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Vice Chair Coe,
Yes.
Chairman Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you.
We will then go into the scheduled items. 9.1 is approve and authorize board chair to enter into contract with Verizon for tower lease.
Madam Chair, Executive Assistant Becky Ariola will be doing that presentation.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. The Lathrop Manteca Fire District Verizon Tower lease, item 9.1. As in the past, the fire district has leased tower space to communication companies. The district currently has only one other leasing occupant on the tower, which is Sprint. We are looking to have Verizon lease some tower space as well. Verizon negotiations for leasing of tower space started since approximately mid-2016. Through various conversations and meetings, we have come to resolve and brought forth an agreement with Verizon. The agreement has also been reviewed by legal. Staff recommends the fire board approve and authorize the board chair to enter into contract with Verizon for the tower lease. The tower lease proposed will bring forth $1,400 a month rent with an annual increase of 2%. And we also have in attendance a representative from Verizon, Timothy Adams. So he's the manager of site development, if you have any questions as well.
I just have a quick question, probably for the chief. Is that $1,400 per month, is that restricted or unrestricted funds?
Unrestricted.
Wow, great. Any other questions from the board at this time?
I do, Madam Chair. So I'm looking at 6A, when it says the ability to get on premises, do those kinds of things, and being able to charge them electricity if they use electricity. So do they plug, I don't see how, do they have their own meter? Do they, how are we going to?
Yes,
So
they do.
they're going to take, they're going to have their own meter, and then we don't have to worry about portioning it out or any of that kind of stuff.
Nope, they have their own meter, all their electricity, everything is self-contained for that area.
And then access, I mean, if it goes down, they can access in the middle of the night,
Yes, they can.
okay? And if they damage us and our transmission, how long do they have to get us up and running?
I think it's less than 24 hours. I think that I'd have to look at the contract.
I didn't see it in there, so, and it's really long, so the public knows, it is really long, like 60 pages long. So it's not like we didn't read it, it's just I didn't memorize the contract. So, I just don't remember seeing it in there, how long they had. Oh, we got a representative.
Hi. My name's Timothy Adams. I represent Verizon Wireless. I work for a consultant firm, or SAC Wireless. You asked about interference and how long they have to cure.
Right.
I want to make sure.
It says immediately, so,
Yeah, so they'll power down if necessary.
yeah.
So it says immediately cease such interference after receipt of notice.
Yep.
So you'd obviously have to notify. There's a contact number here for Verizon.
Yep.
And then they would power down and then remedy the problem. Typically, the frequencies that the fire district transmits on aren't anywhere near
Right.
what Verizon transmits on, because they have licensed frequencies, so.
So they can't interfere with us, but if they did, for some reason, it is immediately, and then they could even have to shut down that's in the contract, if they had to.
That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Tim.
Is that the end of your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Director Coe? Director Gish? No. Okay, I have no other questions. With that, then I'll entertain a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll go ahead and motion to approve.
I have a motion by Coe, second by Payton. Yes. Please do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Vice Chair Coe,
Yes.
Chairman Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 9.2, approve and authorize board chair to enter into contract for solar.
Chief Modasky will be doing the presentation for that.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Larry Medosky, Administrative Battalion Chief. This evening, we have an actionable solar item for you. Very excited. Let's see here.
Oh, there's a mouse over there.
Oh.
Mouse. No. That should work.
All right. Okay.
No.
Oh, maybe that one. All righty. Okay, staff is returning to the fire board for action to move forward with the solar projects for fire stations 31 and 34. The action tonight decides whether the fire district will move forward with a financier for a power purchase agreement. The agreement moves the project forward and allows work to continue towards the fire board's original intention of entering a power purchasing agreement for the purchase and installation of solar production equipment. A little background. On February 9th, 2016, the Fire Board approved an agreement with Velocity Solar and Keno Olay Financial for solar installation and services at fire stations 31 and 34. As mentioned in previous updates to the Fire Board, the financial component from Keno Olay changed their business model and unfortunately was not able to fund the project. Staff, Velocity Solar, and other project partners began to look for an alternative financier for the project. A new financier partner with American Renewable Capital was later identified and immediately began work on the project. The new agreement provides for a combined calculated annual savings of $10,400 in our utilities. Staff has also asked the financier to present an option that would retain the fire district's ability to use vacant buildable land for future use. This option uses a carport-type structure to place elevated solar panels. This option also provides some protection to the fire district and employee vehicles during extreme weather. Staff recommends that the Fire Board approve and authorize the board chair to enter into contract for solar, and we list the financial implications there. Also, I recognize that there may be some questions, and we have members of the team that have been working through this project with Ron Rice-Egger with Velocity Solar, Misty Williams, Velocity Solar, as well as James Coombs. James, thank you for being here as the new financier component. We really appreciate your partnership and all your work getting up to speed with it. Thank you. Ron, thank you for being patient. I know it's been difficult. Yeah. So we are prepared to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I'll start on my right. Director Gish, you have any questions?
Not right at the moment.
Director Cole?
You stated that this was approved prior to me being on the board back in February. Was there an RFP done to get to this point? And are we required to do so?
So the quick on that is no. There was not a financial RFP component to get to present day. We actually left that on the responsibility of Velocity Solar, and they were encumbered with that responsibility. We do recognize that there was an agreement that was entered, and staff was very forthright with all information with all parties that we would need to be relieved of those contractual obligations from the prior financier, and we have that component as well. And so the quick on it is Velocity was charged with that responsibility.
Okay, in the 10,400 annually, I'm assuming that's yearly, is that expected to increase or change a lot? Do you want to go into more details on that?
Yeah, yes. And Jay, let me address the board real quick. Vice Chairman and the board, thanks for having us here this evening. It's been a little over a year and a few months since I've been at this podium, so we appreciate that. When the process was created for the fire stations, I know both you directors are new to this board, if that's correct. We've now since then installed the Rippens Firehouse under the same financial contract, same financial partner with Mr. Coombs. We also have many other stations already done and completed now, which we didn't have last time we spoke. Good to see you guys again. The creation of this financial platform is exactly what that was. There was a lot of due diligence done. There was no way to finance a government entity, fire station example, police station, etc. We created that. There's no one that's been able to come to the table. 3 of the boards sent us out to try to find. They even put due diligence with Mr. Buckwalter as the inspector investigator to find another company to finance such an entity. No one would come to the table and finance it. Clements Firehouse with Chief Ingram spent 3 years researching, trying to get theirs financed. There's nobody that would finance it, so when we came to the table to create an entity to do so, that's what we did. And then when the bank pulled out from under us, we then stuck with our guns and stuck with our word and created yet another way to do it. And here we are today, a year and a half later, with not only a financial partner who has said they will do it, but they actually did it. Ripon Station is up and running with savings. The $10,400 is year one savings, and that's only going to grow. You guys have seen the PG&E rates go from 32 cents at a high when I was here at the podium last to now 43 cents, has already increased a tremendous amount, and it's only going up. So that number is going to go up, and I will leave it to James to explain the 20-year factor on savings. If you want to touch on that, that'd be great, and we can both answer any questions you guys may have in regards.
Would it be helpful to get a little more explanation on that question?
Anyone else oppose? Okay, please.
I'm James. I manage American Renewable Capital. We finance projects for fire stations and other nonprofits. A little bit of background on us. So you'll have two components to that. That's really a net utility savings. You're going to be reducing your bill, your utility bill at each of the two stations by a substantial amount, meaning you'll pay PG&E less money every year. You'll be replacing that with a payment to American Renewable Capital for the solar power that we're selling you. So that 10,000 number represents the differential between the total amount you're reducing your PG&E bill by and the amount you're paying to finance the system. So when you ask the specific question, how will that change every year? There's two components to how that'll change. Your PG&E bill is going to vary every year. Historical rate of inflation on that is lumpy, but averages 4.5% to 5%. There's various support and public sources you could find that. The rate on solar power that you'll pay goes up by 1.9% per year. So it's that net differential between what your utility rates go up at and how much the locked-in rate increase is on the power purchase agreement that represents the increase in savings every year. So if your bill goes up 5% and our rate goes up 1.9%, your margin of savings every year increases by about 3%. Does that answer your question?
Yes. My next question would be, from year one, how far are we from being fully solar versus PG&E? What's the percentage? Estimated percentage?
The systems have been designed through a process that I've worked through with, primarily by Velocity, to reduce a majority, virtually all of the utility cost at those two stations. So with the provision, obviously, that the amount of electricity used from year to year could vary, this has been sized to reduce most of that usage. And without getting too complex or mathematical, I'll note that the way we reduce your utility bill, we can offset most of your bill without producing all the power that you use at that station. I'm happy to elaborate, but I guess the short answer is, the short way to explain it is, you're selling power to the utility at the most valuable time, so you're getting a premium for it, and then you're using some power at less valuable time, so you're buying that at a lower rate. So if we offset 80 to 90% of the power at the station, we can offset virtually 100% of your utility bill in round numbers.
I have solar at my house, so I'm a little familiar with it. What wasn't an option for me then was the I guess the battery, whatever you guys call it, battery storage. Is that something that we would benefit from at all?
Yeah, I'll happily say no in a respectful way and just a more educated way here with the historical factors of battery storage. Battery storage is a great conversation, but it's really at the same place that storage, that solar was at 10 years ago. 10 years ago, solar was, oh, do you have it? Oh, is it okay? Now batteries are at the same place. Do we believe in the next 5 to 10 years, battery storage is going to be more effective, less maintenance, a lot less cost? We do. Right now, if I sold you battery storage, you guys would hate me a year or 2 years or 3 years from now when you're maintaining them and you've paid double the cost for them. So right now, we've done a few homes with battery storage. It's a very familiar area for us, but we ask the customer multiple times, are you sure you have to they're adamant about it. I said, okay, your system is $45,000, your batteries are $42,000 on top of that. No problem. Who can justify those numbers? Your numbers of savings goes down the tube right there. So the differential and the best factor to obtain the savings without that cost is through a power purchase agreement, especially when there's not a tax advantage with a government entity. This is really the biggest bang for the buck in maximizing your guys' efforts to go solar.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No questions.
Director Gleason?
I always do. I love solar. But to let you know about the RFP, we went and got bids, and we got like one. So we went through that process and went, this is like Clements did. We weren't going to wait around 3 years. So we found a company that would do all that stuff for us.
Okay.
That right? Is that about right, Chief?
That's correct. I was going to elaborate, but Larry had talked about it, and I figured I'd cover it at the end.
Yeah, so
thank you.
we
We
tried.
did go through an RFP process, just as followed our purchasing policy. We did the whole thing.
The other thing, what's the capacity of our panels? Are we over 100%? Can we go to 114%? Or when I got mine, I can only go to 85%.
Yeah, Station 1, I believe, is in the 90 percentile. Do you know offhand? I can look at it. Station 31's in the 90s, and let me take a look here, Station 34. .34 is very close to 100, actually. James, do you happen to have that information on hand? No. Okay.
The round numbers are, you're offsetting 80 to 90% of your kilowatt hours.
Okay. Now, we have generators.
Yep.
So PG line goes down, our generators kick up.
Automatically.
So does the solar, unless kicks them off. Okay, so now we're generating our own power, our panels generating power. Where does the excess energy go? How do we
Okay, so
divert?
if your automatic switches kick in due to power loss from the grid,
Right.
the solar goes into standby mode. Okay, it goes into standby mode until your generator. Here's what we ran into this problem at Clements. Okay, and this is I see the laugh because he's solar knowledgeable as well. What happened was when the generator kicked on in Clements, this is over 2 years ago, the solar would kick back on because it thought the grid came live.
Right.
Then it would trick the generator then shut off. It was just like a slap fest, back and forth. So it was horrible. So, after, Dave would call up and go, Ron, what's going on here? We had analysis go out, our engineers went out, I went out, we all went out, we had a big old powwow at Clements and sorted out the issue. So now the technology, through Wesco Distribution, they came up with this device that's been used, in many hospitals, to where if the grid goes down and the generator kicks on, the solar just stays in standby.
Okay.
And lets the generator do what it's supposed to do until things go back to normal, which is grid and solar communication. So the solar will not kick on and mess with the generator. The primary factor, and this was the biggest thing, was they don't care where it comes from, they just need power. They can't have an issue. So now it just shuts the solar inverters into standby mode until the grid kicks back on and the generator shuts off.
Okay. That's all I have, Chair.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
with that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Gleason, second by Payton. Please do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton,
Yes?
Vice Chair Coe,
Yes.
Chair Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we will go into 9.3, approve purchase of electronic pre-hospital care report, EPCR program and applicable hardware.
Chief Medowski will be also doing this presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Madam Chair, members of the board. The EPCR software and hardware component. The Fire District was recently informed that the San Joaquin County Local Emergency Medical Services Authority, the LEMSA, will be implementing policy regarding an electronic pre-hospital care report. Staff was informed by the LEMSA that we will be included in the reporting as a basic life support non-transporting agency. The policy is pursuant to recent legislation at Assembly Bill 1129 and passage of Assembly Bill 503 from the state. The legislation requires the use of mobile EPCR that can be used from patient bedside to hospital, mandates that the software be compliant with current version of reporting standards, both NEMSIS and SIMSIS. In addition, the software must have interoperability across data platforms. Senate Bill 503 is a partnering legislation that essentially removed barriers from the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So that's HIPAA compliant. Staff is asking for the approval to allocate funds to meet the LIMSIS policy objectives. Well, background. Earlier this fiscal year, staff was made aware of the impending state legislation. Staff began budgeting for possible inclusion of a LIMSA reporting requirement that was foreseeable in the next coming fiscal year. Staff was informed by the LIMSA that the policy requirements will be going into effect July 1, 2017. In an effort to meet the expedited timeline, the LIMSA staff has been working with the LIMSA to identify the scope, the reporting requirements, and policy direction. And to date, I will add that those are a little still fluent. The staff has evaluated the most efficient mechanism to accomplish the reporting requirements and will be to integrate the fire district's transition to iPad hardware on our fire apparatus. There are currently 2 software platforms that are currently used by the LIMSA reporting in San Joaquin County. That's MEDS by American Medical Response and Outfielder by Inspironics. Staff has reviewed both platforms, and clearly the MEDS platform is a much more conducive to a July 1 expectation for implementation. Staff is currently working with other local fire jurisdictions for continuity and cost containment. I'll elaborate on that here just in a minute. But given the timelines and fluid nature of these requirements, staff is asking for an expenditure of up to and no more than $25,000. This amount covers the cost for both the hardware and the software needed to meet the LIMSA's reporting requirements. And staff recommends that the fire board approve and authorize the fire chief to spend up to $25,000 for the purchase of an EPCR program and its applicable hardware. Just to recap on that item that I said I'd elaborate a little bit on, we recognize that we're not the only organization that's going through the reporting requirements and this expected timetable. With that, the City of Manteca Fire Department, the JRUGS entities are all looking at what opportunities present if we were to do something together. This unlocks the possibility that we can contain these costs to much more reasonable levels. So that's where we're at with the program. We see that the current, when we evaluated the current process of how we collect data and how we utilize mobile and onboard MDT terminals, we've recognized significant savings by going to an iPad platform. And so that's the intended direction that makes sense to continue down that direction for us. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Starting my right, any questions? Director Coe, on my left?
No questions.
Lisa?
Why do I always have all the questions? So this is an unfunded mandate. We're being told to do this with no money. It's going to cost us $25,000. What's the penalty for noncompliance?
Well, a lot of those policies are still fluent, but the mandating and regulation environment that we're currently in under San Joaquin County LIMSA, I do not envision in any way that would be acceptable to continue to run medical calls at all and not be compliant.
Okay.
And so I want to elaborate a little bit on this topic if I can. So just recently, you all got the correspondence from the LIMSA stating we've been requesting to go ALS. I did get an invite to a meeting with the medical director, which is Dr. Bias, and Dan Birch, the EMS director, and I had a conversation with them. We've been pushing really hard to go for ALS capabilities with the Lathrop Manteca Fire District, and there's some components that you're going to have in place. So one of the things we're trying to address was we don't want moving targets. We want to know exactly what we have to get to where we have to meet this expectation. One of the compromises that we did that came out of that is that we are now going to be the first one to roll out the new program of the Narcan and EpiPens. There was a pilot program that was done with French Cramp that they did, and then now that pilot program is completed, and now they're rolling it out to all of the other places. So we're the first one to have the rollout after the pilot program. With that, there's some components that have to be in place. One of them is the EPCR, CQI, and then obviously training for the advanced BLS component of the Narcan and the EpiPen administration. When we looked at this from several aspects, one of them with the EMS director is, well, we still want to go ALS. We just don't want to stop here. And he said, that's fine. We will look at that when we look at statistics that's happening throughout the nation. And this is a stepping off point for us. So it was kind of a middle ground for us to go, okay, if we have to go ALS, we're going to have an EPCR program. This gives us an EPCR program for the advanced BLS. We're going to put the CQI in place. We need that for ALS also. So we're moving in that direction. So the answer, he answered the question of what if we don't do it, but what I want to say is this is just a stepping off point for us to get what we really want to achieve, is that ALS program that we want here at Lathrop Manteca.
So we'll have iPads instead of PCR forms? I'm trying to envision how this is going to be used. Yep. So instead of paper and a metal clipboard, captain's going to have an iPad.
Yes.
And taking down all that data. It's then, now the data is transferred, or goes with I understand, it goes with the patient throughout that patient's services, right? So it hits the ER and it builds on that way, electronically.
I'm hesitant to say yes.
Okay.
Because those are parameters that are set by the LEMSA. And we've been working with them as to how they would like to see that data transfer happen. So as an example, we are, our concerns was interoperability. Mm-hmm. If we go to the city of Manteca, or the city of Manteca comes to us and has and handles an EMS call, we want the ability to data share that so that we can accurately account for that particular patient contact within the LMFD jurisdiction. That means, specifically to your question, I believe, if I'm answering this correctly, is that if we utilize the current draft policy, if we utilize any of the expanded scope, we are required to transmit the EPCR within 24 hours. They are looking at shrinking, and those times are still being worked through.
Since we're the first in the rollout, and we're going to be using this, and what kind of microscope are we going to be under? Are they going to work? Is it a trial and error thing? Trying to get this? Are we working out the bugs for them?
Yeah, there's some issues that I think that I wouldn't know the exact numbers. I think French Camp ran about 420 something calls in one given year, that was medical calls, and they gave out, it was very few and far in between when I had the conversation with Dan Birch of they actually utilized the skill. I see us potentially having a lot wider use of that with the population and dynamics that we have in some of the areas. That scope or microscope that you're referring to, and that's what I was trying to, we're building a really good relationship. We're attempting to build a good relationship with the LIMSA, and because we have to. That's just the way we're going to have to interact with them. They have agreed that there's going to be mistakes, and we know that there's going to be mistakes with this rollout and how this is happening. And yeah, we're going to be the first ones to roll this out, and there's going to be some trial and error. There's some other stuff that's coming down the road that is some more advanced BLS skills of not just having the EpiPens, because the EpiPens are very expensive, but actually doing draws out of regular open draws and administering that way. That's coming down the road through the state. It hasn't hit us yet, but that's going to come through the state LIMSA or state EMS agency. So they're willing to work with us. We're going to be under a microscope just like any paramedic would be under a microscope to make sure our skills are done. And at the end of the day, they're going to work with us to make sure. They want a good partnership with us, and we want a good partnership with them.
That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve. I second it.
I have a motion by Payton, second by Gish. Please do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Vice Chair Coe,
Yes.
Chair Rhodes.
Yes. Sorry about that.
But
I could've
we'll be
turned it off.
continuing to work on that relationship, Director Gleason, just to let you know. We're attending the EMS meetings. We want to hear the information that he's getting to where we want to go with our program.
From our letter, that looks like that's the only way we're going to get information.
Fair enough.
Okay, so with that, we will go into receive and file fiscal year.
One more item.
Oh, truck, I'm sorry.
Fortunately for Dave.
Approve purchase of new
he's
truck
last.
loose equipment.
So, Battalion Chief Capper is going to provide this one, and I do want to say, we just found a little bit of an add-on on this item as far as the total amount, and he'll get into more explanation with that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors, Chief Neely and staff. Acting Battalion Chief Josh Capper, I'm here to talk about Truck 30's loose equipment purchase. Wait, this one? Okay. So in summary, the Fire Chief is going to request the Fire Board to provide direction regarding the purchase of loose equipment for Truck 30. A little background on the matter. As you know, that in 2016, the district authorized the fire truck to spec out and purchase a new 107-foot aerial truck from Pierce Fire Apparatus, which will be designated as Truck 30. The purchase of the apparatus will require additional funding to outfit the truck with the necessary loose equipment in order to put it into service as a first out response unit. The truck will require the purchase of various items including hoses, nozzles, EMS equipment, auto extrication equipment, high angle and below ground rescue equipment, power and hand tools, and other essential items. The equipment selected will allow our truck to meet ISO requirements for both a truck company and an engine company. Most of the equipment purchase will require approximately 30 days of lead time for delivery. Some of the items, like the auto extrication equipment, will take closer to 45 to 60 days. The anticipated delivery of the truck to our district will be in the area of late May to early June, not July. So ordering of this equipment in the near future will coincide with the arrival of the truck. So the fiscal impact that you see right there, approximately 205, that's actually going to have to change and be amended to about $225,000. We had a late add-on for the radios, portable radio quotes, which is roughly about $20,000. So I can send you an amended copy of that if you'd like.
Thank you.
So, any questions?
Questions, starting on my left? Gleason?
Was this budgeted? I mean, it's anticipated cost, so did we budget it?
Yes, it's budgeted for the fire facility fees and the capital outlay. I think we adjusted some of the numbers in the loose equipment because we found some items that we needed. We're getting Lucas machines for it, and also the radios were a little added cost, so that kind of expanded it.
Now, this is not a tiller,
Correct.
so one operator up front, and that's it. How long is the apparatus?
It's 38 feet, 2 inches long,
Carries no water,
500 gallons of water.
500.
It is technically a quint,
Okay. Just a little bigger than what we got.
a lot bigger.
Yeah. 100.
Yeah.
Right now, we got 60,
65,
we're on
yeah,
107.
107.
Give me an idea of what this would reach. Hampton Inn?
Oh, yeah.
What about California Natural Products?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
It had to be close, but it will reach it.
Okay.
You didn't mention ground ladders in your purchase. Does the truck come equipped with ladders?
It comes with 115 feet of ground ladders, which is the minimum required for ISO.
Cool. That's it.
Questions to my right?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Gleason, second by Payton. Please do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton,
Yes?
Vice Chair Coe,
Yes.
Chairman Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you.
The last, but not the least, one of our schedule items, the 2015-2016 audit report. So, Chief, who's?
I have David here. He's going to be doing the presentation for that.
Thank you, Chief. And mine has no additional cost to it. So what I'll do is just kind of summarize the audit results and what most board members want to look at when they're going through the audit. The first thing is our audit opinion on the financial statements. It's referred to as an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion you can get, so that's what you're looking for. We also, at the back of the report, there's a report on internal controls. We do have some findings and recommendations, which I'll get to a little bit later. The report itself, it's a thick report, and so I just kind of get you through how it lays out. After our audit report, there's a management discussion analysis. This is a good place for you to go if you're not a numbers person. It really describes in narrative form what's gone on with the district over the last couple of years and provides some comparative information to make it easier to understand really what's happening. After that is the government-wide financial statements. These are statements you only see once a year in the audit report. What these are is they combine all your governmental funds, and then they include your long-term assets and long-term liabilities. So your capital asset things you're buying right now are included in there. Whereas in your fund financial statements, you would expense it. In the government-wide, they capitalize it and depreciate it over time. Then that's followed by fund financial statements and reconciliations, which tie it back to the government-wide financial statements. The notes to the financial statements fairly extensive. They provide a little more detail on some of the account balances. Probably the biggest notes in there relate to your post-employment pension liability as well as your post-employment medical retiree benefits. Required supplemental information is just more information regarding the post-employment benefits, both retirement and medical. The supplementary information is just a budget actual comparison of your general fund. The report on internal controls on pages 40 and 41, which I mentioned earlier, and then immediately following that is the findings and recommendations that we will discuss towards the end. Some of the more significant items that have happened for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2016, your cash balance, overall cash balance increased a little over $500,000. That's a plus. We do have a prepaid expense on there for $300,000. Some people will look at that and you don't know what it is. You had agreed to purchase the aerial fire truck and made the first payment prior to the end of the year, but until that truck gets delivered, it's just a prepaid expense. Once you get it, then that'll be applied as an expenditure. Your long-term liabilities increased $3 million. This doesn't affect your fund financial statements. This is the government-wide, so that pension liability based on the actuarial study, that pension liability increased $2.8 million. Your OPEB liability increased about $350,000. The difference there is some of the payments you made on some of your loans that you had outstanding. Revenues were down $1.2 million, but that's mainly the federal grant that you had last year for the radio communications equipment. The expenditures were down even more at $2 million. That was, for the most part, capital outlay last year, again, related to that equipment, the radio equipment funded by the grant. Your total governmental fund balances increased $936,000, so almost $1 million. So overall, when you look at this, it looks very good on paper. To put this in perspective, I took a look back at your general fund over the years, and you can see we've come a long way since 2009 and the years that there were some struggles. and you look at the last 3 years and how the general fund has grown, the assets have continued to grow. That's the blue line. Really not much in the way of liabilities. That's accounts payable and accrued payroll. And then the green line is your fund balance in the general fund, which has also continued to grow. A look at the income statement, so your revenues and expenditures over the years. And again, what you're really looking for is, are we spending more than we're taking in? And again, the early years you did, but you look over the last 5 years and we have income for those years, which you need that income to build for future capital outlay and other unanticipated expenses. The general fund expenditures, again, as there were tough times, those decreased, and unfortunately that was probably you had less firefighters, and you can see we're back up above where we were before. I put those percentages on there. So the blue line is your payroll, salaries and wages. That represents about 42% of your expenditures, and then the related employee benefits is another 35%. So payroll and benefits is 77% of your expenses. So, it doesn't leave a lot of room for those other things, but, now you have the capital outlay fund, you have the Measure C funds and the fire facility fund, so those are taking care of some of those bigger expenditures. This is a look at your capital assets, and again, this is, a lot of those other expenditures are going to be capital outlay as you've already heard the presentations here. You can see that drop in 2013. When we came in, that was our first year doing the audit. When we went through with your staff, the detail of the capital assets listed, there were some that were not in service and or the district no longer had at that time, so there were adjustments made. But you have since added some capital assets. There's a little construction in progress. I think that's the new station. And I put that depreciation line in there because as that line gets higher towards the top of the bar, above 50, 60%, you're going to have to most likely replace some equipment. So right now you're in a very good position. A lot of the equipment's fairly new or newer, and you're adding more equipment. So again, with respect to capital outlay, you're in a pretty good position. That's kind of a look at the financials. There's a letter that goes in addition to our audit. It's required communications to the board. So it just talks about the scope and timing of our audit. We always like to get it done as early as possible. Sometimes it takes a little longer for various reasons. This one, we're getting to the point where we can get there. The county's financial statements aren't exactly the most user-friendly, so that's kind of our biggest challenge right now. It also discloses there's significant estimates in your financial statements, the pension liability and the other post-employment benefits, the medical retiree benefits. Those are estimates, so they can change significantly from year to year. Audit adjustments, if we have any, they're attached there. A lot of those are done in conjunction with staff, trying to identify, what the accruals need to be as of the end of the year. There are also some new governmental accounting standards that are coming out. We disclosed a lot of them to you last year, and there's a couple of new ones. The one that's going to impact the financial statements is GASB 75, and it's related to your retiree medical benefits. It's similar to the pension GASB 68 that came out that required you recognize that liability. You're only recognizing a portion of your medical retiree benefits liability. This is going to require you, like the pension, to recognize the whole thing. It doesn't affect your fund financial statements. It doesn't require you to fund it at all. And actually, the difference between what you have recorded now and what the current estimate is only about $300,000 more. So it won't be the big impact that the pension liability was on the government-wide financial statements. The internal control report. So when we went through, if you remember the previous 3 years of audits, there were a lot of things that we identified that needed to be improved. And what has happened since that process is, as soon as we were identifying things, the TIF wanted implemented, staff started implementing those things, but, there was a lot to do and a lot to learn, and so it doesn't happen overnight. So we still have a couple of things to work on. On the accrual accounting process, so this is when you get to the end of the year to recognize your receivables and payables appropriately in the financials. And again, the county system isn't conducive to that. So with now the implementation of QuickBooks, which is allowing us to get to that point, so once we're working with them, we're going to have a process for them to identify. And right now they're identifying them. We just now need to get them posted into the financial system. Long-term liability accounting, again, this is a county issue with, they don't have the appropriate accounts description, so they post it to capital outlay or equipment when it's actually a payment on debt or interest payment. So we'll have that worked out, so internally, those will be posted appropriately as well. Other things, just the financial system itself, again, there was total reliance on, for the most part, the county, and you had an old, it was Peachtree accounting software, which hasn't been supported for years, and so basically it was, you had to get rid of it, and so that's why we're now moving to QuickBooks and should be fully functional this year. And then a couple of other things, we had two, there was a petty cash account and then an old bank account that's really just sitting out there. I mean, I think it's less than $1,000 in total. They aren't recorded in the financial statements, and so with the new system, we'll make sure that those are recorded. As far as policies and procedures, we identified a number of policies and procedures that we felt should be adopted. I know the chief has gone through, and a lot of those have been adopted, but we're just going to continue to working. Again, those don't get adopted on a daily basis, so we're just making sure the most important ones have gotten adopted, and then we're working on other ones that will also be adopted as we go forward. Overall, when we look at the audit, I mean, things have significantly improved over the last 4 years. When you look at your financial position, it's impressive how you've come along in the last 3 and 4 years. Management has done a great job. This is the first chief I've worked with who knows numbers almost as good as I do. And he doesn't know the accounting part, but he knows the numbers. So, but I mean, it's good because they want to work to get to the right place, and that's been very helpful for us. Makes us want to help more. We're just trying to provide the education so they can get to where you need to be, and they're pretty close. But I think from a board standpoint and in working with the chief, there's, again, additional policies and procedures we'd like to see get adopted and implemented, and so we'll be working on those over the next year as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Start over here, because I know he's got questions.
Yeah, might as well. Might as well.
I do. When's the contract up with these guys? Do we have a contract, or is this an ongoing agreement?
So we had an initial 3-year contract for 13 through 15, 13, 14, 15. And I think we just did a 1-year contract for 2016. So
do we need
I think we just did a 1.
Yeah. Do we need to renew that so we can? Well, now we're on time.
We are.
Go ahead.
You are.
I'm sorry. I believe it was a 3-year with the choice to extend 2 additional, so we do have, we did receive the letter for 15, 16, and 16, 17.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about that, so.
Okay.
So we are covered for next year.
Because it's nice to work with a firm that is like on time.
I know.
So I just want to make that real clear. Now, I'm looking at page 44, and back in the back, under schedule findings and recommendations. So in my review of this, my understanding is, okay, so we're using Peachtree. We're not using it it's at fully extent of what the capabilities of that program is. County does not match Peachtree. We're switching over to QuickBooks. So have we fully implemented QuickBooks now? Or what are we doing with QuickBooks?
So we're almost there. So we've gotten the beginning balances in. What we need to do is import the transactions for the year for fiscal year 16, 17, and then make sure everything is imported correctly, and then do
Is it going to work with the county?
So the way, the county functions on a cash basis. So that's the challenge. So but by having QuickBooks, which is a more user-friendly, we can more easily reconcile, okay, here's what they posted, here's what we posted. With Peachtree, that system, like I said, wasn't supported and it had issues, and so now we can work with them, and that's where I say we're developing the process to make that reconciliation happen.
At what point do we detach from the county in regards to a lot of this stuff, paying our own stinking bills?
When I say
They just cut us a check, we pay our own bills. At what point do we do that?
So that's when we're comfortable that everything's operating as we anticipate, then we'll let you know that you can obviously do what you want, but we would recommend one way or the other. So we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
No.
No, but we're moving.
Could be, next year.
Okay.
That is a goal of ours, and I know that's something that we've set out as one of our objectives too, is to get more, independent from the county and not be so dependent on their accounting for us, and that would help. But we need to be in the right track, and we need to be on the right, but that's one of the things we're moving for, definitely. We want to be away from them so that it'll just work out smoother, all those. And payroll is going to be another issue, but I think we have somewhere somebody can do payroll that will be able to do the payroll and the retirement. That's a whole nother issue, but we'll get there.
So that's all I have. Thank you.
No questions, just to say thank you for the report, and it's good to hear how good we're doing.
Director Coe?
No questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Director Gish?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I got to tell you, I like, I'm used to these management letters that talk about the findings and so forth, and you can't really determine what they're really saying. This is very, very clear, and I do like that. Again, thank you very much. I mean, 4 years in less than 2 years, that's a lot. So that's how far behind we were. So thank you very much. And with that, I mean, I did personally have the experience of working before in an agency where we did detach from the county, and we did the same thing when we were ready. We moved ahead, and, it was a little bumpy at the same time, trying to adjust to the new system. But I will tell the chief this, nobody told me then that I had to sign every check that the county normally signs, so, so maybe at that point, we'll look at a payroll system, actually, where, it's a generic signature, but we don't have to sit there and sign every single thing. So thank you very, very much, I appreciate it. With that,
Thank you, sir.
while this is always an interesting one, because technically, we have to approve it, but we're not approving it because there's not a darn thing we can change about
You're
it.
accepting
So we're accepting it, but we have to do it in a motion, just like we approve the acceptance of the audit. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion that we accept the audit for 2016.
Very good, I have a motion.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion by Gleason, second by Gish. Go ahead and do roll call.
Director Gish,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Director Payton.
Yes.
Vice Chair Coe.
Yes.
Chairman Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Motion passes. And we had, our schedule items today were all very important and very contractual and so forth, so I went ahead and did roll call for all of them. I figured it would be best. But at this time, we can go a little bit more informational, more, relaxed on the informational items as we move on. So with that, information request on web accessibility and recording of all board meetings, referral request by Director Gleason.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I have our clerk, Suzanne Schmitz, right? She will be performing this presentation.
Good evening. This is item number 10.1, LMFD, information request on web accessibility and recordings of all board meetings, referral request by Director Gleason.
The left button, or right button.
This one?
No, the other one, opposite side.
Sorry. The Lathrop Manteca Fire District currently videotapes and records all fire board meetings per the Brown Act, Section 54953.5B. These meetings are accessible through our webpage. Director Gleason requested more information regarding policies for web accessibility and recordings of all board meetings. Staff conducted a survey of web accessibility policies and recordings of all board meetings, policies by 4 legislative bodies. The 4 legislative bodies were the City of Lathrop, City of Modesto, City of Stockton, and San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors. The City of Lathrop televises, videos, and records their council meetings. The meetings post to their website as soon as they are available. Per Teresa Vargas, City Clerk, there are no policies for web accessibility and council meetings. The City of Stockton uses a cloud-based software program and service to video record their televised meetings. This software program and service posts their council meetings on the City of Stockton's website, along with providing a backup disk. Blair Hongo, Deputy City Clerk, stated that there are no web accessibility and council meeting policies. Staff found that the legislative bodies surveyed do not have a written policy in place for web accessibility for board meetings. They post their video of the board meetings when it becomes available. Their board meetings are televised, videoed, and recorded. There is no backup procedure or policy for each of the 4 governmental bodies. The California Code, Section 34090.7 states that video recording media, including recordings of routine video monitoring, shall be considered duplicate records. If the city keeps another record, such as written minutes or an audio recording of the event that recorded in the video medium, however, a video recording shall not be destroyed or erased pursuant to this section for a period of at least 90 days after occurrence of the event recorded. Staff recommends the board continue with the Lathrop Manteca Fire District's board meeting records as current by audio, written minutes, and video as available, per the Brown Act, Section 54953.5B, and California Government Code 34090.7. Staff impact research hours. Are there any questions?
Going to me.
Start on your end.
Thank you. We use a social media format, YouTube, to rebroadcast our meetings. And there are some recommendations from FEMA and Department of Homeland Security in regards to using those social formats. And one of the recommendations is to have policies in place for protected use. There's all kind, the ability to, access, when to access those kinds of things, so that the public my mind is going blank, for transparency, in the spirit of transparency, so that they can be actively engaged, not just view what government's doing, but be actively engaged in what government is actually doing. That's why I wanted to bring it up, is that there's been recommendations a lot, and they change all the time, but a lot of them came after Katrina and what occurred at Katrina and those kinds of things, and why Louisiana made policies that they did and made decisions. And even though we have partners within the county that haven't taken this step, it shouldn't prevent us from start to put together some policies in regards to how are we going to do it, what are we going to do, how are we going to protect ourselves in regards to the use of the information when it's put in the public, so that we can, because a 90-day shelf life is a protection for the government type of thing, or keep for 90 days, and then we're going to go on written notes. But once you put it on social media, it's there for life, forever. It's always retrievable some way or another. So with not having a policy, it's just kind of floating around out there. And so that's...
Can I ask you, just for clarity, are you saying a policy as to if we use social media, how we use social media? I'm not.
I think this is the start for those kinds of policies. There's also, this information here is, and we can put a disclaimer in regards to how it's being used or rebroadcast, that it's the sole property of the fire district. People can manipulate things and do things that may put us in a bad light, and we would have to defend ourselves on social media. So those protections too. So I think we need to take a look at putting together policies, because it's a growing thing, how social media is being manipulated. Just recently, and this had to do just with duplication of one post of a man killing another man, and how quickly it went viral, and then it took 2 hours for Facebook to remove it. Now they're putting policies in place to get it, to make that process faster so that it doesn't, just get out there and go viral. So I think there's some things that we need to put in place. Right now, we're only using, we use Facebook. We have and we post things on Facebook. We have YouTube, which is our meetings. We need to kind of put them all together, put together policies that regulate those kinds of things. And this is a start.
It's just, I'm confused. I don't know. I'm going to let the whole board, because I'm really not clear as to what you're asking.
We need a policy in regards to how we're going to, this meeting is broadcast on social media. We need a social media policy on what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it.
In terms of broadcasting?
Correct.
Okay, so when we're going to broadcast, how we're going to broadcast?
What's broadcast?
Yeah, what I want to do is get clarity as to what it is that you're asking.
Yeah.
So when we're going to broadcast, how we're going to broadcast, and there was one more?
Well, it's who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Okay, what, when, where?
Who's in charge of it, who takes responsibility. And that opens then down the road, public information's officer. We're not big enough. He is our public information officer at the moment, but it all ties together. But it starts with just our meetings, with some simple policy and moves forward.
Okay, Peyton?
Okay, I wasn't clear on what type of policies you were requesting either, but now my question would be, I don't understand the downside of not having a policy. What does that open us up to?
Not having a policy, it allows anyone to post, to use our information. So you say something, it's totally open to the public. You can say, and they take you out of context, or they manipulate the whole meeting so it looks bad. And we have no protections. We have none in regards to that. Or in an emergency, how are we going to put things out? Where we can put things out? But that's, it's down the road. But you got to start having some kind of policy on who's going to do it, when is it going to be put out there? So are we going to do it in 28 days? Every 28 days, that means it's going to be reposted. Who's in charge? How long? Is it free? Are we going to use free? Is this going to expand to? We have social media in regards to Facebook already. Now we've got this. Do we have a Twitter? Are we going to have a Twitter? Twitter's kind of going, they're financially upside down at the moment. And there's lots of other social footprints out there for us to use. And we have no policies, none, to represent us.
So I'm still not clear. So are you saying a policy that would say that our meetings can't be reposted? That the public can't repost our meetings?
No, it's the manipulation of our meeting. See, what some have done is you put it out there is that this is the sole property. That doesn't mean it's the sole property of the fire district. There is some protection in doing that, whether it's copyrighted. Our meetings are copyrighted, and they are our intellectual property. It doesn't prevent anyone from doing it, but it gives us some standing as to what's our response going to be.
Okay, I'm done.
Cole?
Let me give a stab at it. Like KCRA, when they broadcast something, at the end of their broadcast, Siri has something to say. At the end of their broadcast, it says copyrighted, so no one can redistribute that transmission. I think what Director Gleason is saying, with the absence of a policy and us posting our meetings on social media, there is no protection whatsoever. Anyone could take that, put it on TV, or do anything because it's on social media. I don't know if YouTube is the best source to use to distribute our stuff because of the lack of control of where that goes. So I do see where Director Gleason's suggestion of a policy does make some sense. What's actually in that policy, I'm still a little not sure even where to begin. But I do agree that there should be something, but I don't know what exactly it should be.
Yes.
I'm kind of with Jeremy on that. You're kind of worried about someone getting a hold of it and editing it to say whatever they want to say, basically. So they could take my voice from one meeting, couple meetings, and change it around to say something totally different. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, that's one reason, and it expands, because we start here, and then we expand to how are we going to put out information in regard to the floods? Does the chief stand and do a video and present it to the community, during an emergency? Because he's our PIO. Does he do it through social, I use social media because it's generic, but does the chief do that? What is the policies in regards to our access to social media? And our meetings is the forefront. This is when it's put out there every single month. So we need some kind of parameters. You're always talking about parameters with me all the time.
I know.
Bob, you gotta stay within the box.
So we have a social media policy already in place for stuff that happens and pictures that are taken from our personnel and what, I see where you're going with that. The only two things that I would suggest if you want to do that, a policy is not going to solve what you want. You're asking to put policy and given direction of how there's just too many aspects. It would be this thick of what I could report and what I can't. I don't necessarily agree unless we fine tune what the policy needs to read. But we could stop broadcasting. I mean, that's an option. We don't have to broadcast these. We can do the recordings. What we had been doing for years is just utilizing them for minutes and putting our minutes out. We don't have to broadcast. It was just something to put out there that we were looking at for outreach to the public. I would recommend, because there's so many constraints with that, I would recommend that we just stop broadcasting. Unless we can go to a third party like the Board of Supervisors does, and then that third party then takes that and they publish it for you. They I believe they publish it and put it on there, and then they could put something on there saying that this is the sole property of Lathrop Manteca Fire District and outside use is prohibited and whatever. We could do something like that, and then that's more cost, but we'd have to research the cost of that. I don't think a policy is really, because now we're getting into the weeds. When does the chief stand up and tell him that there's an emergency on Facebook? Well, you're asking, that's just too much. You're trying to get into too much control of the operation of the organization. And so you're trying to control the emergency operation of the organization. I think it's overreaching. But I understand what you're trying to get. You're trying to prevent somebody from taking what Director Gish is saying and modifying it and then posting it. Well, that can happen, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Let me jump in there, Chief, if you may, because you're right. I'm the one that's always trying to make sure that we're safe, that everything is. But I got to tell you, after 20 years, it doesn't matter if they're here, if they read it in the paper, if they see it in the meeting, if they hear it from somebody else. The reality is, politics are issue-driven, and everybody is going to take what anybody said or did in a meeting and give it its own spin and spin it throughout the world. So, see, I understood that part that you just said there as something that might come in the future. But what he really wanted at this point was a policy that protect us from anybody taking the information at meetings and, using it for their benefit or changing it. And
a public meeting. Anybody can come in here and video you right now.
And that's what I was going to say.
Well, that's right, they can, and to go to
You
the
can't-
extreme and remove this from social media. We've already set a precedent, and that's not the recommendation
Yeah, I wouldn't
from,
take it off
from our
either,
federal,
yeah.
from our federal partners, is that we're supposed to be more transparent. But everybody's got, not everybody, because this county seems to be about 25 years behind times in regards to that kind of stuff, but because there was no policies as to what roles people played and how things were done, miscommunication was rampant during the 2005 Katrina catastrophe. It was terrible. There was no policies, no nothing. Pre-arrangements weren't made for transportation, and all of that was terrible. And so recommendations were made through a report, the Katrina report, as to how you could do things. And then it went on in regards to the hurricanes up in Sandy, what occurred there. A lot of that stuff came into play with the supposedly snowstorm that was going to hit DC, New York, and Boston area, that luckily didn't happen. But a lot of the things have been worked out, and because policy has been put in place, all information went out. It was all coherent, ready to go, and done. We don't have any of that stuff in place. And I understand that our policies that we have are in regards to our online personnel and what they can't use social media to broadcast because of HIPAA and information, personal information and accents and those kinds of things. We're not talking about that kind of information. We're talking about controlled information that comes from this body, and we don't have a policy.
What comes from this body? I just want to get
At a meeting,
clarification.
but
I need clarification.
I
If
know,
you're
and
gonna ask
that's
me to
why
do
I am
something-
going to bring it to the agenda, hold on. The agenda item is about web accessibility and recordings of all board meetings. And I think that where we're getting all confused, it's expanding all over. At this point, you're saying we need a policy on how we protect our recordings. Chief is saying that maybe we stop recording. So if you can center on those two, and let's not, because we do also have the goal setting and whatever, which is where other policies that are needed, because I got to tell you something at this point. I just read an audit report that after 4 years, we still need a lot of policies to set just to meet the necessary policies. So I don't want to send staff on more policies, but I want to focus on the one you wanted. In terms of recordings of meetings, does the board feel that we need a policy on how those are protected? Because that's the way I understood you originally. We can talk about other policies later on. And Bob, this is your item, so feel free to jump in and...
I think I've jumped in a lot.
Yeah, no, but it is your,
Yeah.
it is your item, but I just don't want to, when you go into more, we just get confused. So just focus on that one, and maybe we'll come to resolution on it.
Well, I think there should be a policy. I think there should be a policy as to who is it that posts our meetings, and what's the time frame in which those meetings are posted. That's where we start.
Okay, and I just see that as administration. Do you have somebody designated to post
So-
them, and is there,
I
yeah,
do have somebody, but I don't think it has to be a policy. It can be just simple direction from the council, from the board, that they want them posted in a certain time frame, and then those will be posted. We're killing a lot of trees for just something the board can say, we'd like them posted within 7 days, and then that's direction from the board that they're posted within 7 days. You're going to make a policy where I'm going to have to put in a lot of language like, well, if the recorder doesn't record, then that's an exempted. And if we don't have the meeting here, then that's going to be exempt. There's going to be a lot of exemptions where we can't record, and it's not going to be video. Video is a luxury. If we decide to move these meetings to a station, and for some reason we have a falling out with the city, we're not going to be able to record. So then we're going to have to spend a large amount of equipment, large amount of money on expensive equipment to do proper recordings of the videos of the board. And so I get everything that you want to do. If he's just looking for a policy of, or direction or some sort of answer of, we want the recordings that are possible, that they will be posted within 7 days. If that's the policy you want, that's fine. Who's going to post it? That could change. What happens if Larry's not around and he's not available, he's sick? Or or Sue is. I mean, what happens when that position's not available? Now I can't even post it. Now I'm violating my own, see, I don't want to violate my own policy. That's the problem here. The policy's got to be open enough where I don't.
Let me ask Director Gleason, what do you think is a reasonable time to post and I'm talking at this point as our general meetings, because sometimes with in other words, if we are going to post something, it should be the general meetings at least. What is a reasonable time that you feel that should happen?
10 days.
Within 10 days, okay? And then, are you okay with then leaving the administration to determine who does it?
Well, I think it's administration, the direction would be the administration is the ones that post it. Not online fire, not a captain, it's not delegated below an administrative level. I think that's pretty
With that?
reasonable. You know?
So the direction is within 10 days and done by administration staff.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to put in there?
Not at the moment.
Yeah, and then my suggestion, this is always, because we do have tremendous number of policies for our financials that we really need staff to focus on. But I personally have some policies that I would like to see, at one point become part of the district, and I imagine that as even new members go along, there's other ones. So during our goal-setting session, I've always said it every year, is look at your policies and see what else do you think it's there. Because at that point, we can really talk about, and the good thing about the goal-setting session is that then we say, okay, we got a year to work on this and get us there. But the policies that are needed right now to focus on are the ones identified in that audit. But are you okay then with the 10 days, administration staff?
Correct.
Okay,
And you'd like that in policy?
No, you
No.
wanted a staff direction.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
We
Staff,
just
that's the direction.
directed you.
So this is staff direction, so it's not a vote, but is everybody in agreement?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, 10 days, and then we'll have administration, and if we have time, when we get some of the other crucial policies done, then we can circle back, and that is very simple. If the video is available, 10 days, I can put something like that. That's something I can work around, right? I can make that happen. But I just didn't want to get too constrictive with it, that.
No, it's not to be
No, we don't need a
constricted.
policy.
It's so that there's policies, a complete and full social media policy, where it starts with your online guys, which we do, and that's new. That's, so the board knows, that's a new thing within the last year.
I brought it back with you guys.
You
guys were informed about it.
Yeah, and then there was, it's an ever-growing thing. The industry is growing, and there's more and more problems, and we'll have to address those problems as we come along.
Okay, sounds good. I'll take it, direction.
Yeah, but always remember this, if I was to do a survey of everybody sitting in this room when they walked out the door, I would probably get at least 5, 6 different versions of what happened here up. So we will never be able to control how people take what we say or what we do. And that's the beauty about government, is everybody will take what they need and use it to accomplish their own goals.
Yeah, the problem, we have between the ages of 18 and 35, 98% of the people use social media to gather their information. That's a lot. Total population, 63%, and that's going to where those people don't
Not
carry
to belabor
phones.
this, we're looking at, if we can do anything to put some verbiage behind, at the end of the meeting, that this is the sole,
But it's not, but that's the thing about it, is this is not the opinion of a broadcaster or the opinion of a writer or the writing or anything. This is government.
Right.
This is us expressing what we think the citizens want from us. So the reality is, we don't own it. Everybody who hears it owns it, and they can agree, disagree, complain, scream, use it to their benefit, and you see that in every election, when somebody says something, that is taken by every candidate that's running against them, and they pull their own spin. We will never, as elected officials, own what we say.
every time I have a discussion with any entity, they take the paragraph out of the whole document and they try to use a paragraph which has no meaning unless you read the whole document. That's just human nature.
But I'm glad that you brought it up, because at least now we have a set time and delegation
Okay.
of authority on it, so.
All right.
At least we know it'll get done and,
right.
within such a number of days. Okay, so we're going now into chief's reports.
Okay. Tentative date and times for budget study session. So, we normally have, don't we normally have our goal setting before that?
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah.
up.
So we need the goal setting dates and we need the budget study session. The budget study session we can do early prior to the meeting of June, I believe. Hold on, I'm sorry. We got a calendar for us to look at.
That's what, the 20th?
Okay.
June, that's May.
So our meeting in May
It's 18th.
is the 18th.
I don't know how the board feels. I know I said this last year. I don't want to do right up before the meetings or anything, because number one is, we tend to get confused. Because then we think that it's going to come back later, and then when it comes back late, it just, plus it's, our brains are fried,
Okay.
pretty much. So
So-
when the meeting comes, then we're going to be televised in another world.
So how about, we're going to be gone the 1st and the week of the 8th. Staff is not going to be around. So how about the week of the 15th, 16th, 17th, before the meeting, doing our goal setting? So
On the
our
day?
strategic operational planning? Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the board wants, but I really don't want to have anything like that on the
No,
same day.
No, not on the 15th, 16th, or 17th.
Okay, got it.
Before the board
Okay,
meeting.
got it.
Not, I'm sorry, I should have paused. The 15th, 16th, or 17th. Prior to the board. meeting.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So, Madam Chair, are we thinking during the day, late afternoon?
It's up to you guys. You give your.
Late
idea.
afternoon works better for me on the 15th and the 16th. Even the 17th, I can squeeze it in, but the 15th, 16th works better for me after 3 o'clock.
I'm retired and I'm always around, so for those people that work or, go out of town or whatever, I yield to them to pick dates and
What about-
times,
Board
I'm
Member
out of town
Gish.
every Monday through Wednesday.
every Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
Better day? So you're on your 4-day?
But didn't we last year do the Friday before because of that? Or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, we can do the Thursday or Friday before. Is that when you're going?
Oh, there's
Okay.
Mother's Day in there.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll be gone.
Gotta remember that.
Does it have to happen before next meeting?
No. It can happen after next meeting. We can do something like the,
20th,
any,
23rd, 24th.
I think the 22nd through the 24th. I don't think there's anything going on that.
I'm good anytime that time.
Yeah, that whole week
As
is
long
open.
as we have the opportunity to revisit before the meeting, because that's what happened, I think, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, when it came back to the meeting, we all had a different opinion of what we had decided through the goal process, and it got very confusing. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. So, yeah, well, let's do a couple days. One day to do it and then one day to review it and finalize it.
Perfect.
Can we do it like the 17th and then the 23rd, and we're good, and then we'll be good to for June? Or how do you want to do that? Are we still looking at doing everything before the board
budget-
meeting on the 18th?
The
No.
budget study, well, we can do a combination of two then. So the budget study session, the budget has to be adopted in June. Preliminary, I'm sorry. Preliminary budget has to be adopted prior to July, right?
It's July
And
1st,
then-
isn't it?
And then the final is in July, prior to August. So preliminary, we have taken our preliminary because some people just adopt their old budget and then they work through from the June meeting to July to finalize the budget. We have pretty much, our preliminary has always been our final unless something has come up between the time that we adopt our preliminary so we don't really change it. So I'd like to get it done before, the June meeting, so we have time to do the budget study session.
Well, let me start on my right. Director Gish, are there any dates and times that are just completely out for you?
Just depends on how my schedule falls.
Okay, so then maybe that's something that, let me continue. Director Coe?
Tuesdays are normally bad for me, unless we're doing the evening thing. So Tuesdays would be my only day that I'd rather not commit to.
And then you stated you're
I'm
going,
normally not in town Monday through Wednesday.
okay. And then,
Thursdays is bad for me. I can't do Thursday nights or Thursdays days. I can't do Thursdays.
How's Friday look for everybody? Is Fridays good?
Friday's usually open.
The whole week?
So Friday the 19th?
Yeah.
so it looks like it's Friday, the 19th,
Then how about June 2nd?
and then again on June 2nd.
I will,
June 2nd, a Friday as well? Is there any particular time? You guys want breakfast, lunch, dinner? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Because the 19th, what we'll do is we'll do our strategic operational plan, work on that, goals and objectives, and then the 2nd, we'll bring back to finalize it, and then we can go over the
budget.
preliminary budget and do a budget study session. How's that sound?
Very good.
So what time? On Friday?
The 19th, on Friday, you tell me.
What is best,
Well,
Mr.?
I have a doctor's appointment at 2:45, so
So it's dinner for you?
early or latest works for me.
If we do the 19th, dinner's fine. Just any day, anytime on the 2nd, but, we can
Yeah,
do
the same.
the 2nd in the evening.
Yeah, the evening works for me.
By the way, we're just kidding about the dinner time.
No, we're not going to be casa.
We're being televised.
I'll be out of the area June 2nd through the 17th, so it looks like I'll be missing the 15th, June 15th meeting as it is.
It looks like late afternoon is probably,
We can do
Ish, is that
the
the same
second
for you?
meeting later, to do the 19th, and then we can do the 9th. Or Thursdays are bad for you altogether, or just Thursdays before the board meeting?
Usually Thursday evenings are really bad for me.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a commitment and
No, I'm
So-
good with that.
Since
No
he's
judgment.
doing the 2nd, could we pop it up to that Thursday before and
the 1st.
do it in the morning or something? If it'll fit everyone else's schedule?
The 1st for me is in the evening.
We'd have to do it Thursday evening on the 1st?
Yeah, but I'll have to tell them that I can't make my commitment on the 1st.
How many hours are we looking?
Oh, if we get all the strategic operational plan done on the 19th, it would just be reviewing it to make sure there's no missing points and kind of agree on it. I wouldn't actually ask you to adopt it until the meeting, so that everybody can get a chance to see it before you adopted it. Although these will all be agendized meetings, everybody likes a regular meeting for everybody to see things, right? I mean, we've kind of cleared that up through trial and error here. But so it'd just be a matter of going over the preliminary budget. That could take anywhere from a couple hours to 3.
So what time are you not available, June 1st?
Usually it's from 7 to 8, but I'll have to, anytime it's on a Thursday, I have to then make pre-arrangements. And it's far enough out, I can pre-arrange,
But if we
that
did
time.
it like 2 or 3 p.m. or
Yep, that'll be fine, 2
1
o'clock.
p.m.
AM, 2 or 3?
after lunch,
On
1
Thursday?
p.m.?
Okay,
Yeah.
so the 19th for the initial strategic operational plan, right?
Yep.
And then June 1st at 2:30, or 2
2:30?
o'clock. 2 o'clock?
You want to go
2 o'clock
long?
be, 2 o'clock be good?
Doesn't matter to me.
1,400 hours?
And then we'll finalize the strategic operational plan, and then we'll work towards
Yeah.
the preliminary budget.
Correct.
That way, what ended up happening before was it, because we did it before the meeting, remember, you didn't have the time to put it in writing and whatever, and then when we got it in writing, we disagreed with things. So that way, we prevent all of those issues.
Yeah, no, and we'll go through it.
We're ready to
Yeah.
go.
No, it sounds good.
And
What time on the 19th for you guys? You want to do lunch, 12 o'clock? We'll have lunch for you.
Doesn't matter.
or dinner,
It's kind of 4 or 5 hours, depending on how much we want to
Yeah.
get into detail. So we'll review last year's.
I
We'll
still
see
have a
where we're at.
2:30 doctor's appointment.
Yeah, he has 2:30 doctor's appointment, so we
On that Thursday.
So is it in
On
Oakland?
Friday?
No, it's in, that Friday, yeah.
Local?
It's in
On the 19th?
Manteca, yeah.
So
Oh,
We'll let you leave and come back.
do 4 o'clock?
yeah, we do
4 to 8?
o'clock. Yeah, let's do that.
Friday, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock works.
Unless you guys can do earlier, yeah.
No, because he can't do anything earlier.
Oh, I can do morning, if we want to do morning, I can
That's
do
what I mean.
morning.
If you want to
I
do
can't do
morning.
mornings.
Okay, fair enough. 4 o'clock, 4 to 8.
Very good.
Now, since we got June up there, and Director Cole is leaving on the 2nd and coming back on the... you're gonna-
17th.
17th. And,
My understanding.
okay, I leave on the 10th and get back July 1st in the evening.
So that means that the three of us sitting here have to be here and have to come up with a decision of whatever shows up. There's only going to be three of us.
It's important to be under the sea.
So we do need to have a quorum. because
Yes.
I do have to adopt the preliminary.
And 3 would be a quorum.
Yeah.
3 would be a quorum, but I need everybody to be here, so. The 3.
Yeah. So Gish, Rhodes, and Peyton,
Okay.
we need to be here.
Okay.
Director Gleason, you'll be out of town.
I will be leaving the 10th, and I'll get back July 1st in the evening.
So you'll be back for the July meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can't get
You'll be
rid of
back for
me.
the July meeting.
Yeah.
And what time is the meeting on June the 1st?
2
2?
p.m. is what I wrote down.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that'll be good, because at least you guys can see the preliminary. That'll be good. It'll work. That'll actually work really well.
If you guys can do a one-pager that I can,
Reminder?
you can email me, or, well, I'm not,
Oh, for the
to my
meeting?
personal, yeah.
You don't use Outlook? No? Okay. Yeah, we'll get you one page.
This is the thing, it's easier for me to remember where it's at and just look for it
Okay.
than it is, I forget to look at my calendar, my electronic calendar, I forget to look at, so it's just one of those things that if I go crazy, and I'm still old, I agree. I have my little pieces of paper in my office still attached. Yeah.
We're going to be at Station 34?
Yes, speaking of where it's at, where's the meeting?
So we'll probably have them at, unless we can do it here, we'll find out if we can do it here. We'll let you know.
Okay.
If not here, it'll be at Forest.
Good.
Very good, so we'll go to
Yeah, next item.
update on unfunded liability request to SJCE.
Okay.
RA Retirement Office.
Yeah.
Well, this is more good news. So we put in a request to tell us what the unfunded liability is at the end of the day. If we are to move forward with a JPA into Tracy, we have to know what that unfunded number is going to be of what it would cost to leave SJ Sarah, because they're just not going to let us go without paying the unfunded liability of potential retirees and the retirees that are currently there. So we requested that, and we got an estimate. It wouldn't be an estimate of $5,000 to have that actuarial done, and so I proceeded with that. We were planning on taking that out of professional services. As they got through it, they realized that the SJ Sarah board doesn't have any policies for anybody that leaves. So they had to go back and revisit how anybody has ever left any or S.J. Sarah 1937 Act throughout the state of California, and then what they did and how they did it. And so they put in a policy together. So remember that a benefit is based on, the unfunded liability is based on what the benefit that you receive, the return of an investment that they utilize the money that they have, and then your longevity of how much life. That is what the unfunded liability is based on, right? So how long you're going to live, how long they're going to have to pay you, and how much is our return and investment going to project us in good times and bad. So what they call that is a discount. So the discount is 7.4, right? So when we look at our unfunded liability, when they do the actuarial and they say, hey, this is what your unfunded liability is in 15 years or whatever they have it amortized over, they say that those numbers are based on this 7.5% and 7.4% discount that we project we'll get through the investments that we put in Wall Street and whatever bonds and all that kind of stuff. So there's a couple ways that we could leave. Well, there was a couple ways that we thought we could leave. One was we just walk away and they'd say, okay, pay as you go like we do now, unfunded liability. They would just bill us every year what that unfunded liability, whatever they don't get in their investment, we would have to pay. It could increase that unfunded liability, the percentage of wages. Or you could just leave and you could have to pay that lump sum. They'll do the actuarial of what that 15 years unfunded liability is, what you see inside your audit, what that unfunded liability is based on a 15 or 18-year amortization, whatever it's based on. And you pay that up front, and then you can walk away, and then you're free. So if the market goes up and down, it doesn't matter. Well, the board came back and said, we're not going to let anybody pay as they go. If they leave, they have to pay it all up front. And we're not going to give them a 7.4% discount. We're only going to give them 2.5%. So that changes numbers significantly. I don't have the actual number in front of me. I'm waiting for them to finalize it and give it to us so that we have that number, so we know what that number is. When that number comes back, then we can look at other options such as, because you can sell bonds and you can get those bonds amortized or funded for 30 years, which would decrease the amount of how much we'd have to pay. But it's just another thing that we're going to have to go through to see what that cost is. So I just wanted to give you an update. We've been waiting for this, and that's why it's taken a while for this to come back, because they didn't know what they didn't know, so to speak. So,
are we going to be seeing soon another agendized item where we can discuss all about this? Because I know we are in the researching and finding information and everything else, but as information keeps continuing to build and build and build, more questions and more things popped up. And I think that if we are, at one point, we will make a decision of yes or no.
Right.
But at that point, we need to have gone through the process of really been able to talk about it and hash it out. And I'll tell you, check out what is happening in Fresno, because I think that they might have rushed it, because the numbers now are not projecting to be what they should be. So the city is pulling out. So you have I think it's called community something. I forgot what the district is. But they're being left out in the cold, in essence. But when the time comes for a decision, whether it be yes, whether it be no, and I know that there's a lot of pieces, there's other people that need to be on board or whatever, but I think that everybody needs to feel that they have been able to hash everything out and that their decision is easy to make versus I still don't know what the heck I'm going to do,
And so that is definitely coming to a head here real soon. I'm hoping to have something next month, if not the month after. Probably in July. That way you guys don't have to worry about this June meeting. But because I need that number, I need to do a little research on what it would cost, how much a payment would be on a 30-year on that kind of, amortization of that kind of amount. We're probably talking $25-30 million.
Cheaper than I thought.
I don't know. I don't know what that
But
number is.
you know what my vote
But it
is
was like
right now,
18
don't you?
something with the 7.4% discount rate. I mean, I can look at the number that they have, but you're talking $30 million. You can amortize that over 30 years. I mean, just the basic without interest, and you're going to get, what, 2% probably. So it is what it is. We'll get there. I'll get you those numbers. And you're right. We need to say, hey, we're either going to move forward or we're not going to move forward. We can afford to do it or we can't afford to do it.
Yeah.
So, okay? Next.
Thank you. LMFD Department Picnic.
Department picnic, so we're doing Discovery Kingdom, so this is the money that was raised for the fireworks booth, fundraising, and different items that we're doing a department picnic, so we have about 72 people total, but that's family and kids and everything, so we normally do our Christmas dinner, and that's great for the adults, but we want to do something for the kids.
Yeah. When was it again?
The 6th, so it's the 6th of June? No, May?
May. Yeah, it's coming up.
May 6th and May 14th. One's Mother's Day, I know that, but May 6th is coming up, and we just need a count of how many people you want to go. It's being paid for, I think it's all you can eat, hamburgers, hot dogs, macaroni, salad, watermelon, sodas, everything from 2 to 3 at a picnic area. So we'll have one little area that we will come together at, but for the most part, it's family and friends and coming together as a family. So, May 6th, tell us how many tickets you need, so because we're going to order those
Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a short deadline, but sorry about that.
But are you ordering also for the 14th?
Yes.
Oh, Lord, okay.
Yeah.
I did send out an email, I'm not sure.
Yes, I got it, yeah.
You did.
Yeah, you did.
So everything paid except for parking, obviously, but it'll be a good time. It's going to be a good time had by all, so. We just need a number. You can tell us tonight if you want, that's fine, and we'll,
I'll be on duty, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'll be at the park.
okay.
At the park?
No, I'll be on duty at Yosemite National Park.
Oh, I thought you meant
that
you'd be
weekend,
at
so I
the
won't be at
Discovery
that park. I'll
Kingdom
be at
Park.
another park.
I say we still come over and eat with us.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the department picnic. And then a reminder, CSDA Leadership Academy, San Luis Obispo, that's coming up. This week. I was planning on attending that. I have to cancel because stuff changed in my personal life and I won't be able to make that. It was unfortunate. I was looking forward to being there, and were you had to cancel too, right? Yeah, and Becky had to cancel too, because it kind of threw things up for a little bit. But we're planning on going to the Napa one with the.
Is it possible to transfer from this week to Napa?
For you?
Yeah, because I can't go. I got a conflict that popped up.
How about you?
My car is gassed and I'm ready to go my bag.
We're gonna have a good time, man.
By myself, I guess, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
So there's not going to be anybody from administration?
No.
Okay, then can we ensure that he goes with a credit card or whatever?
Absolutely.
So that you don't have to. Because normally they take care of everything,
Okay.
but
So let's see about the second registration if we can't get it transferred over.
They take care of everything unless they don't have enough seats on the flight. Then they leave you behind.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Or they pull you out.
Yeah.
So would it be easier if I just transferred to Napa? I mean,
Can you do that? All right.
that's up to you. I mean.
Can we see about doing that?
Yeah, I mean.
Will he let us?
I guess.
I hope so.
Rooms availability is the only thing I'd be concerned about at this time.
Say again?
The room availability
For Napa?
for Napa, but I'll check into it.
That's all right. We can stay outside if we had to.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm good to go for this one if.
Yeah, no, let's try to get it all, and then that way we can all go. That'd be fantastic, to have the whole board there.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
It'd be the first time.
So just let me know.
Okay. Okay, and then last thing I don't have on the agenda, but I'm going to update you on is the truck update. We're going to be heading back and looking at that this next week.
The what?
The truck.
May 1st.
Oh,
Yeah, Truck 30, we're going to be doing the inspection up there on May 1st. We're heading over there, and hopefully couple weeks after that, I'll be coming here for you guys to take a peek at, and then get everything on there, all that loose equipment purchased.
Should I tell you what I actually heard you say?
Oh,
The drunk update.
I'm sorry.
That's why I go, what?
Good gum, I shouldn't be doing that, I'm sure.
So, with social media, are we going to post pictures of the progress that's doing back there?
No, we don't have a policy.
Yeah, we do. We do have a policy for that. That's all I have, Madam Chair and Board. Thank you for
Thank
your time
you.
tonight.
Okay, so board comments and referrals, starting on my right.
My hat is off to the crews for what they've done with their station awards and apparatus awards. Thank you. I drive by Station 33 probably 4 to 10 times a day sometimes, so it's great to see you guys out there and keeping that place look nice.
Thank you.
None?
Lisa?
I have nothing.
Good, thank you. All right, meeting adjourned. Here you go. How do you?
We need your signature.
Yes.
Don't leave.
Yeah,
I do have a question.
I gotta tell you that I was visiting some relatives, you know, my
Thank you.
daughter-in-law's mother.
We have bounced checks.
Whatever.
I saw on the thing that we had some
They were talking about you
return
when you were a
items,
little boy.
which I
So, Sue,
bounced checks.
I'm like,
You're going to check on whether or not I can get moved to Napa?
It wasn't that much,
so they were
but
saying, oh,
sometimes it starts a trend. You know?
Okay.